Hello and welcome back to the Voloshen Law Firm for yet another episode of our Power Partners series. I'm very, very happy and proud to present to you today my good friend and colleague, Ted Kaplun, who is a wonderful personal injury attorney and is what I call a real lawyer's lawyer. He really does this with love for the industry, for the practice of law, and for helping people. And as a personal injury attorney, today we will ask Ted to share with us some of the 5 tips that you need to know in case you need a personal injury attorney, in case you are looking to put in a personal injury claim, whether it's a motor vehicle accident or a slip and fall or workers' comp claim. Ted Kaplun is my main referral source. He's also a good friend and a colleague, as I said, and he will share with us some of the tips that you should keep in mind for personal injury cases. Why don't you tell our viewers and clients a little bit about yourself, how you became a personal injury attorney, and start off with telling us 5 tips that we should know in case we are looking for a personal injury attorney.
Sure, Igor, thanks for having me. First off, like you said, we do personal injury. We focus on personal injury law at our law firm, Kaplun Marks. We've been open for 10 plus years, and we litigate files. We are not afraid to go against the biggest insurance companies, and that provides the best leverage for our clients and provides the best return, and allows us to maximize value of a case. So that's the overview of what we do as a law firm. With regard to personal injury and immigration, obviously a lot of your clients are immigration clients who come here for the first time to the United States, and then they deal with a personal injury matter such as a car accident, slip and fall, a work injury, and they have a lot of questions. Oftentimes, many people are fearful when they're coming to a new country on the legal process itself, on how to present a claim, and if they get hurt, such as on the job, if they're not documented yet or they're in the process, which you're probably helping them through, they oftentimes are scared to present a claim because they think, well, what are the consequences? How will it affect my life, my immigration status, if I'm able to work or otherwise? How should I get treatment? I may not have health insurance and all those things. And there's a lot of intricacies, and they're being bombarded with calls from insurance companies, calls from adjusters, calls from workers' compensation representatives, and they have a lot of questions and they're concerned. So oftentimes what we find in the immigration setting with regard to personal injury is that people are scared. And oftentimes, they shouldn't be. The immigration status related to a personal injury matter are 2 wholly separate issues. If you're injured in an accident, whether it be a workplace injury, we often see people are working for cash or some other form of payment. They are oftentimes scared because of their status that they don't have yet, or they're trying to achieve or get a green card, which I'm sure you can talk more about, but they don't know. And oftentimes they'll call you, I would imagine, and say, Igor, what do I do? And there's nothing to be afraid of in terms of presenting a claim. It will have no impact on your immigration status. What we often find in the realm of workers' comp is if people are getting paid cash, which a lot of people do because they've come to this country and they take what's available to them in terms of work. Number 1 tip that I can give, and we had a situation with a young man who's working for a construction company. He had just come from Russia and he had been here for a short period of time, had picked up this job and was doing work and was severely injured. What he had done, I was very impressed with, was he had a calendar and he would write, I worked X amount of hours, and then at the end of the week, what he was paid. That contemporaneous keeping of records was very important to his case because, needless to say, his boss said, first off, he said he didn't work there. Then he said, he didn't make what he made and he didn't work the hours he worked. And we had this record, and the employer had no records. So this little calendar book that he kept just on his own, and he had no idea he would have a claim, was instrumental in getting him a very good recovery for his injury. It was excellent proof. So keeping a decent record. And most people can do it on their phones these days. And you can just keep notes and put in, okay, I worked today X hours, I was paid this at the end of the week. And that will be very helpful and useful, especially in a workers' comp setting. Because, a lot of times people who are working as immigrants to this country, who are working for cash, the record keeping from their employer is less than stellar.
That brings me to my first question to you. Do you, in your experience, see the credibility of plaintiffs who presented a personal injury claim in one way or another be detrimentally affected by the fact that they are, in fact, not documented? If they do not have a, let's say, permanent residence in the United States, do you feel like if this case goes to an adjudicator, let's say it's a administrative judge in a workers' comp setting, or let's say it's a judge in a personal injury setting and the case goes to court, do you feel that neutral adjudicator inquires into a person's legal status, immigration status, and if so, do you believe that he is given more or less credibility, or it doesn't affect his credibility in front of an independent adjudicator at all? What's your experience?
So interesting question. So as an employer who employs people who are non-documented, they're getting the benefit of that labor. And they're probably paying them some cash rate that's less than appropriate. They're not paying unemployment. They're not paying, into a workers' comp fund sometimes for those type of situations. So the employer, you can't get the benefit of the labor and then say, well, now he got hurt, too bad, he's illegal. Or she's illegal, and or non-status, or whatever it may be. So their credibility in that setting, if you're keeping relatively decent records of your own work, and I'm sure you will have people that can testify on your behalf, say, yeah, I worked at this place. Those type of things are very important, and in fact, the credibility of the employer who tries to say, hey, this person didn't work here, or otherwise, and has no records, that's what's imputed from that setting. With regard to like a car accident or other injury type case, it's a little bit different. The status should not come up. It's not something that's germane, doesn't matter with regard to the injury. If you're rear-ended in a car and you're at a light, what your status is will not matter. I mean, if you have insurance matters, if you have a driver's license, that may matter. You may have a driver's license for a different country. Those things can be worked out. And it's not something to be afraid of, because if you're in the right and you have no fault in the accident, and you have injury, the most important thing is to worry about your care, recovery, and getting back on your feet. And we can work on all the other stuff. One little aspect of it may be, presenting a wage loss claim in a personal injury matter, such as like a car accident, slip and fall. We may forego a wage loss claim in those settings, possibly. We look at all the aspects and figure out what's the best way to proceed. But we will always keep our clients' best interest at heart. We'll not put them in harm's way in terms of getting him into immigration issues or troubles, and we would always call you should we have any questions with regard to that. So you've been an invaluable resource with that type of stuff. So
and that brings me to my next question. If a client is injured, whether it's at work or in a motor vehicle accident, could you walk us through the do's and the don'ts? What are the things that an injured person should do right away after he sustains an injury? Maybe you can give us sort of a brief roadmap as to what kind of things he should definitely take care of right away and what kind of things he should not do so he avoids the pitfalls that could affect his ability to recover and his ability maybe overall to present a claim.
All right, so with regard to any personal injury matter, number one, you want to take care of your health first. Get medical care if you need it. If you're rushed by ambulance to a hospital, that's most important. Outside of that, getting information from, if you're in the car accident setting, from the other driver, making sure that you get not only their insurance card, but get their driver's license, take pictures of their car. Because sometimes, people drive other people's vehicles and you need to know who hit you. You need to call the police, let them come and make a report. Philadelphia, as we live in Philadelphia, in the Philadelphia region, oftentimes police will not even come out to the scene. You may have to go to the district to make the report. Take photos of your vehicle, exchange information, get insurance information. Very important is to not give statements to the other person's insurance company. They may call you and say, hey, listen, we know you were in an accident. We're concerned what happened, how it happened. They are not on your side. They 100% have a duty to their insured and not to you. So there's no benefit to giving third-party statements. So we always tell clients, do not do that. Let us handle the flow of information. They can spin things that are not what you may have said, or use things to hurt your potential case in the future, such as like, hey, how are you feeling? I'm okay, like normal people would say. And then, but XXXXX. Well, they'll say, well, you said you were okay. What happened? What changed? Just to spin the narrative, right? So we want to avoid that. You have to give a statement to your own insurance company. We can help with that as well. With regard to medical care, this is a question that we often get in relation to a car accident, right? Like if someone comes, they're an immigration client and they just came to America and they don't have health insurance, right? But they bought a car and they're driving and they have insurance for their car. In Pennsylvania and in New Jersey, which we handle cases in both states provide PIP, which is medical payment. Generally, it's up to $5,000. You can buy more coverage or less, but the first $5,000, you have med pay for your accidents. So go to a hospital, you provide them with the claim number, they'll bill that claim number, and you have coverage. You can go to a doctor, seek medical care, which you need to do, you have coverage. So the health insurance part comes in down the road, possibly, but there are many doctors that we work with which will take care of clients on what's called, a letter, and they make sure that that client gets appropriate care, and then we work it through the case. But, getting medical care, documenting your injuries, number one most important thing with regard to any kind of personal injury matter, and that includes a workers' comp. Workers' comp setting is a little bit different because they oftentimes have panels of doctors that you have to go to for a period of time. But we can help with that translation from different languages, Russian, English, obviously English, whatever language you may speak. We have a lot of Portuguese clients. Those can be provided as well. So, language barrier these days is overcome easily. But the most important thing is getting your medical care, and don't be afraid to speak to a lawyer, a personal injury lawyer who could help you through it. Again, Igor plays an integral role. You play an integral role in hand with us. In terms of giving us advice if we need a immigration point of view with regard to the personal injury matter, but don't be afraid.
Thanks, Ted. And then let us wrap up with the last question that has to do with passengers in motor vehicle accidents. A lot of the questions that we get asked in the immigration context are from people who are either undocumented or are in the process of obtaining legal status in the United States, but happen to be passengers in motor vehicles which are involved in severe car accidents. Can you briefly talk about the rights and obligations that a passenger has in a motor vehicle context? Number one, whether he has a right to recover in the motor vehicle accident, especially if he is not insured himself or maybe undocumented. And you touched on this briefly, but what if the passenger in the vehicle, in addition to being undocumented, and not having a legal status in the United States in the immigration context, also doesn't have health insurance and is injured and needs to obtain treatment? How does he treat under the Pennsylvania and New Jersey motor vehicle laws, as an example? And the other question, part of that question is, can he potentially recover for his injuries if he's a passenger in a vehicle that's involved in a car accident?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a passenger, regardless of whether you have your own auto or not, you have rights, and you will have coverage. If you don't have your own auto, you will have coverage in the car you're in. We see nowadays many people take Uber, Lyft. Those also provide coverages for passengers. They provide some reasonably good coverage. If you have no auto insurance and you don't own or live with a resident relative who owns a car, you will get coverage through the car you're in. You will also have very good rights, oftentimes full tort or zero threshold in PA and New Jersey, with regard to your injuries to recover at the end of the case. Again, health insurance, the order of priority in Pennsylvania and in New Jersey is your auto first, your auto med pay, PIP it's called, personal injury protection. From there, it turns over to your health insurance. If you do not have health insurance, then you can present the claim against the third party that injured you. So the car that hit you in that setting, if you're in an Uber or a Lyft, which we see oftentimes, rideshare accidents and you're a passenger and something happens, there is med pay through the Uber or Lyft and or your own auto policy. So there's a lot of layers of coverage, which we explore every avenue to make the most recovery for our clients. In the immigration setting, once again, there's nothing to fear here. It will not affect, if you present a claim for an auto accident, for a slip and fall, for medical malpractice, for any of those areas that we cover, your status here won't matter in that regard. So, it's not a crime to be injured by someone else. It's, in fact, you're providing that the other person was negligent and you should be able to recover. You didn't ask for any of this, for the injuries, for the otherwise. So immigration status, while it is an important factor, and we always will loop in the immigration lawyer, including very capable hands of Igor Voloshen, and we're always thankful to be able to get a perspective from you with regard to that. But generally speaking, the immigration status will not matter with regard to a personal injury matter. You present your claim, get your recovery, and maximize the value of your case.
Thank you, Ted, for your valuable advice. As always, you may call our office at 215-437-7854. If you have any immigration questions or need a consultation, you can find us on voloshenlaw.com. We thank Ted for his valuable advice, for his commitment to helping injured clients, regardless of immigration status. And we look forward to having you visit our pages and listen to our advice and view us on YouTube for future episodes. Thank you and have a good day.